So Jerry Jones, I have been, as a Cowboys fan, complaining about him for a minute here. And yeah, let's listen to some comments that he had. You know, he's got this radio show on The Fan where he talks about all of the things that are going on with the Cowboys and whatnot. That's something he does twice a week. And, you know, he's been called out and asked different questions, and his answers have been all over the place. But he had this to say.
I've always looked at the dollars we spend in football roster. I've always looked at them as scholarships. You give one player 5 scholarships. If it were college vernacular, you give another player 1 scholarship. The more guys you can have out there with 1 scholarship, the better off you are because of attrition.
Okay, look. First of all, why you would even make that comparison doesn't make any sense. These are not college students. First of all, we've already established that they need to be getting paid anyway for the violent sports that they're playing and all the money they're earning for those schools. They need to have been getting paid for their services, but they're not students. These are employees. So to even make that metaphor didn't make sense. On top of the fact that you don't give multiple scholarships to one student attending your college. They might get multiple scholarship offers from various colleges, but you don't go, all right, you know, Winston, you're such a great quarterback. Here is 6 different scholarships for you at our school. That doesn't make logical sense. Like, it literally doesn't make sense. And so now, when you start to piece it together with the number of things Jerry has said, first it was Derrick Henry was too expensive for our cap. We can't do it at $6 million, which didn't make sense because I honestly think you could have gone to Dak and CD, even though they want to get paid, and be like, look, I'm not going to give you 60. I'm going to give you 58, but that's because I'm going to go get you the best running back in the league. Hey, CD, I'm not going to pay you 16 a year. I'm going to pay you 14 a year, and then maybe we can restructure with some bonus stuff because I'm going to go get the best running back in the league, or I'm going to go get this defensive run defense player. If you position it like that, I guarantee you're saying you're going to get paid and we're going to go win a chip. They probably would have considered something like that, but instead you pussyfooted around with the money all season and then didn't go get anybody, and then you paid these 2 guys, and now the team is kind of falling apart. And then when asked again about Derrick Henry a few weeks later, do you feel any differently now seeing where he's going? He's correct, and I don't necessarily think he would be on a record-setting season, but he definitely would have been good. What Jerry said was, well, I don't think he would have been the same on our team. And on top of that, he doesn't fit into our offense. Bitch, he's the best running back in the league. You make him fit. And if anything, he would have fit because the reason Dak is in trouble is because you can't set up the run. Because you don't set up the run, you can't set up the play action. So he's trying to force balls where they don't need to go because he doesn't have a second option. He's trying to force 17 targets a game to fucking CeeDee Lamb, and then he ends up making mistakes because he's tired throwing the ball 50, 55 times a fucking game. So no, that is a nonsense thing. Then at another point, he thinks our plays are absolutely great. Our coaching staff is great. I'm not going to fire Mike McCarthy, but then want to turn around and say, I don't think that our coach is drawing up really good, schemes. I think our schemes are bad. What I'm starting to see here, and as angry as I've been with essentially Jerry the GM and then Jerry the PR guy trying to speak for him and all of that, is I was like, there's conflicting info of you just made bad decisions for the team this season and for the last few seasons, essentially. Now it feels like when you start to hear these interviews and you kind of see he's contradicting himself a lot or he's making metaphors that don't make sense, I'm starting to genuinely wonder if something is wrong. I don't have any sort of thing where a report has come out or anything like that. There was something about some of his kids were in a very bad car accident recently. It sounds like they're okay, but it was a freak accident that was terrifying. Who knows if maybe there's just a lot of turmoil from there where he's emotionally unstable from that. He had mentioned multiple times, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. And he talked about doctor's visits in previous interviews. So I don't know if there is something happening with him or whatever. But it feels like at the end of the day, it reminds me of watching Biden where he's here, but he's obviously slipping. Watching Trump, he's here, but he's obviously slipping. Of watching older folks that haven't quite let their station go, but they're not on the top of their game anymore. They're not clipping at 100%. They're clipping at 80%, 60%, maybe less. And there's a point at which it was like, bro, you've been successful, you made money. At what point do you not enjoy your rewards, reap your rewards, and go let the next generation come in. And so with that being said, I'm very curious what y'all think. If you think that maybe Jerry is potentially losing it one way or the other. And I'm actually going to do a deeper dive into the boomers and the older generation, and specifically how this isn't unique just to Jerry Jones. As I mentioned with Biden and Trump, I mean, you could say that about the entire political spectrum. The fact that Mitch McConnell has had full meltdowns, the fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was holding on for dear life instead of retiring at an earlier moment that may have done some stuff, she stayed until she died. Dianne Feinstein, all of that. But it could be said about jobs in every sector, in the industry, and all that, in housing. There's been this hoarding of power and wealth by the baby boomers, and it's actually setting everyone else up to potentially fail. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into that on a separate video. But let me know what you think about this in the comments.